welcome to this Startup Superhero Series. I'm Heidi Hubling of Stubbs, Alderton, and Markiles Preccelerator program. Today we're featuring Lisa Tsou of The Winning Pitch, and Lisa's one of our mentors here at the Preccelerator, and she specializes in going for fundraising, pitch investor decks, helping companies with their formal presentations, as well as other kinds of strategy for fundraising. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Heidi. Yeah, actually, I started working with startups back 20 years ago this year when I graduated from law school. Spent many years on Wall Street doing venture capital, IPOs, mergers and acquisitions, all with tech and startup companies. And so I've spent my whole career with startups, and I'm now concentrating on the part that I really enjoy, which is the growth part of startups, working with startups on their fundraising, their investor strategy, and positioning for investors.
That's all very important things, especially at this stage within the Preccelerator and other startup companies in this Los Angeles ecosystem. So in regards to going back to the fundraising and preparing the pitch presentation and all of that, what exactly are investors looking for when it comes to when companies are starting that fundraising process?
I think the best way to think about what investors are looking for is to think of it as a risk-reward ratio. And basically, venture capitalists are looking for a really big reward and as small a risk as possible. So, they're looking for things with really big markets or things where consumers or a business would be using with a lot of frequency. So something that can get really big. And then they're trying to find things with as little risk with the really big as possible. And things that would be considered something like a risk would be, does your product work? Does the consumer like it? Things like what other competition might be out there. So I like to think of it as that kind of a ratio.
No, I think that's a great way to look at it. And then what is so in the life cycle of a company, especially with these early stage companies, when is the right time for them to start fundraising? What are those key metrics?
I'm going to say something that I know is going to sound really contradictory, but it's a combination of as late as possible and earlier than you think. Because I think a lot of startups go out there and like, oh, I should go out and find a venture capitalist to fund me, without thinking through when do they really need the capital. Can they go a little longer? Because the longer you can go without outside financing, the stronger position you're in. If you go very early, the venture capitalist is going to take a lot of your company and control, and you're not going to get as much capital as you'd like. So on one hand, think as late as possible. On the other hand, from that point, start earlier than you think, because it's going to take longer to get in front of investors, get them comfortable with you, build that relationship. So from that point where you think you're going to need capital, I would start certainly 6 to 9 months earlier than that.
Right, because the due diligence process by itself, once you actually have somebody who is interested in funding, you can take 4, 6, 8 months at that point. Also figuring out whether or not going for venture capital funding is right for you versus angel investors versus small business loans or whatever the type of funding that a company might need, depending on their scalability.
Absolutely, and investors are going to ask questions, and you may need to go back and think things through, or vet some other elements of your business before they'll write a check.
Absolutely. And what are your tactics? What do you suggest to startups when they're going to start looking for funding? How can they get in front of an investor or a VC?
I think it's a combination of research and somehow wangling a warm introduction. The research part being finding the right VC or other investor, depending on their situation, that makes sense for them. So how big a check the investor generally writes, and the industries that they may be comfortable with investing in. So doing that research, which will take time, and then wrangling your warm introduction to get to them. Because a lot of investors are not going to be receptive to just cold email or blind submissions to them. So working your way through your network, and which may be a 5 or 6 step process of finding the person who knows a person who knows a person who knows a person to get in front of that investor.
It's very, very important. So you've been really a valuable resource to the Preccelerator program. Tell us a little bit about what are some of your favorite things about being a mentor here and about the program and working with the companies?
Oh, I really enjoy working with the Preccelerator. As I said, I was an attorney at one point doing this kind of work, so it's fun being around really smart people like at Stubbs, Alderton, and the other mentors who are also awesome. But also, I just love working with the companies. I think you put together a really smart batch of companies who are doing a lot of interesting things in different industries. So it's always fun to come over here and hang out for a couple hours and see what they're doing and see if I can help them.
Yeah, I'm really proud of them. So, but yeah, it was really great to have you here, and we'll see you guys next time with the Startup Superhero Series.